Greeting and webs and grandchildren, this is Jackit and allow me to introduce you to the Doom Dragon. The Sing, as I'll just call it, is no pushover. It has 5,000 hit points, which is a lot of health, and 500 psi energy points, but don't count on it running out of psi energy. It has ways. Worst of all, it can attack 4 times per turn, and its arrangement of moves is very varied. Attacking 4 times per turn, however, will make using Reflux pretty useful, especially if I can get this thing to attack Jenna each of those times. It'll certainly work against the beast if it decides to go for Jenna all these times. The good old strategy of getting your resistance up as much as you can still holds into play. Oh, what do you know? It's leading off with the Djinn blast! Yeah, all my Djinns have been drained. Jenna is defenseless. What a wonderful start to the battle! As I suspected, it can recover its psi energy completely at any time, so don't try to drain it all away, it won't work. Okay, maybe not defenseless, but yeah, she can't use her cool aura because that requires 4 Djinns. Yeah, my psi energy for Jenna has been very nerfed. Good thing I always have alternatives. I would recommend having people who know revive for this fight. More importantly, make sure that they're in the back. At least you have one person that can revive in the back at all times. Like all good boss fights, raising your resistance and defense is a very good strategy. Can never be too careful. Of course you're going ring breaks after my first use of it. Now I'm a little bit in trouble considering I was gonna have Jenna do a lot of healing, and it decides to lead off the turn by making that impossible for me. Oh yeah, the Djinns that stop it from moving are very useful. It's gonna attack a lot, but anything you can do to reduce how much it can attack will work to your favor. The moves it can use are Thorn, Haunt, the Djinn Blast, Curse, Side Boost, Pressure, Earth Force, Cure, Flare Storm, Fury Blast, Last Breath, Quake Spear, Gravel Blow, and Earthquake. That's a freaking lot to deal with. Considering the fact that it's a dragon, you might guess that it's weak to water. However, I can actually confirm that it's most weak to wind. Though if it means anything, water is the thing that is most weak to after Jupiter. To be honest, I did not realize that it was weak to Jupiter. I go for this fight assuming that it's weak to water as a result. But since its worst weakness after wind is water, all will be good. Normally, if a party member gets attacked by the Djinn Blast, I would recommend sending them to the back until their Djinns fully recover, but I like using Jenna too much. Yeah, that Blast Breath can lower defense, that's not very good. And Quake Spear will attack all party members, no matter who he decides to defend. In case you were somehow hoping that it wouldn't attack everybody. Yeah, summoning is pretty good, like always. This is one time I would actually recommend using Regardless Summon if you just so happen to have the Djinns. Since the Soul Blade is your friend, the Doom Dragon actually has a pretty low defense. So the Soul Blade, being the most powerful weapon of the game, will be very useful, especially when it unleashes. I noticed that it does more damage than water-based energy when the Soul Blade is unleashed. When it does a standard attack is about the same. Like any boss fight, building up your summons to unleash powerful attacks is always a good idea, which I believe I'm working towards now. However, summoning will not work as well in this boss fight as it would in others. It's not even going to work as well as the optional boss fights that we face in the game. They have probably put up more of a fight than this guy will for me. All I'll say for now is, don't think you can just summon rush this guy and get away with it. I would recommend leaving some Djinns set, just so you have a class to protect yourself from devastating attacks with. You can see this guy is not doing too much to me when I actually have a class. Sure, it can devastate all your Djinns and completely ruin your class with a single attack, but it can only do so with one party member, so it's not really much to be afraid of. doesn't seem to do that attack too often. And you should always have party members right in the back. So if your class does get devastated by that Djinn blast, you can just swap places. Since someone in the back of the party should be in good shape for fighting. As you can see, I'm going to send Sir Dicelock to the back of the party now since he's done his duty. And his only purpose really remaining is to revive if needed. So it's a good idea to keep the reviver in the back of the party in case he decides to do a Djinn blast again. Oh, speaking of, it just did a Djinn blast in Mia. And since Mia was who I swapped with Sir Dicelock, I have a good feeling that it was gonna try to do a Djinn blast. I have no idea how good the AI for the dragon is, but it's really seeming like it was intending to take out the reviver. So I conveniently bring him back in, or yeah, I think I actually bring Garrett in. Since he has a sword. And much better means of offensive attacking than the other party members I could bring out anyways. Though I get the strong feeling I'll just end up using him for, like, boosting my defense in that. I do decide to use a Djinn, however, for that particular turn. Not sure if they really talked about Haunted at all. At least for this game, I know I talked about it in the first one. Being haunted is annoying. Kind of lingers in the background, but it does do things to you. Like, I believe every once in a while you'll take damage from it. But since I'm already taking damage from the boss so often and healing because of it, I never really noticed. I never like having a spirit head floating above my head anyways. And that Spirit of Death thing I'm never really worried about either, since that could be taken care of with a Restore. The thing about being haunted that's annoying though, Restore won't recover that. I have only one option to take care of being haunted. I'll show it off eventually. But that's through the Djinn. That's right, there's no synergy that'll take care of that. I can only get rid of it through the Djinn, and I don't even think I have the Djinn. Oh, and this is a good idea of how you would use Law. Dual healing, get off a Restore, and end the turn before he can attack me. Yay! Oh, actually, so I can pull off this Catastrophe summon. I must have caught on eventually that one summons would be useful. Look at all that damage! Yay, it's dead! We won, guys! We finally defeated the Doom Dragon! Hooray! Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Unlike the Fusion Dragon, this one's stubborn. Each of his head has his own health. The last head had 5,000, this one has 4,200. So that summon that I did, I'm pretty sure I wasted most of it because I'm next to certain the damage doesn't carry over from head to head. It gets weaker with each head, but its attack pattern also changes with each head. Before I go into that though, you might note that I got rid of Garrett's Haunt by using Assault Djinn. I'm pretty sure that's the only way I have to get rid of that haunting. Which will be annoying when I forget later on. Yes, Eddie is a very good Djinn to use if you're getting hit by the Djinn Blast a lot. That's worth knowing as well. Now, onwards with the move that this thing can attack us with. Good news, the Doom Dragon will only attack 3 times per turn now instead of 4. The bad news is gain a few new moves to make up for that, including Guard Aurora, which pretty much acts like the Djinn Granite and similar to Djinns, as well as Desert Gasp and Cruel Rain. Desert Gasp is not really remarkable, and oh boy, we'll certainly get into Cruel Rain, so I won't talk about that until the time comes. So his moveset now is Spire, Haunt, Guard Aurora, Earth Force, the Djinn Blast, Curse, Cruel Ruin, not Cruel Rain, sorry, Clay Spire, Fire, Serpent Fume, Inferno, Desert Gasp, and Blast Breath. Here's a good example. This Flash Djinn I'm about to use, that's pretty much the equivalent of the boss's Guard Aurora. And I think that was an example of me over-predicting my Djinns. Wasting a turn by trying to use the summon earlier than I should. Yay. Oh man, here comes that Cruel Ruin. Very big and amazing animation. For good reasons. It's about as devastating as that attack will show. However, the Flash the Djinn will kinda not justify it. Yeah, it did that much when I pretty much already am having my attack that I take because of using the Flash the Djinn. Imagine that sort of ability on the boss. Yeah, it's annoying when that happens. And make the boss lose PP, I suppose is nice, but again, as has been established, a boss is a way to restore synergy points, so it's not really that useful. I guess now's a good time to note, I'm not being too devastated by this boss. I mean, I got through his whole first phase without having any one of my party members die, not even Sir dies a lot. But to be perfectly frank, if I were to challenge this boss without taking on the optional dungeons, I would be in for the fight of my life. The optional dungeons really give you a lot of experience, and the summons you gain from them are especially useful for this fight. If you're playing Golden Sun and struggling, I recommend taking on some of the optional dungeons. And here, we'll get a much better example of how devastating Cruel Ruin can be. Or I would say that if this was not the turn I cast Granite at. These Djinns are very good for this particular phase of the boss. Okay, here's Garderoira. You want an idea of how good Garderoira is? Here, I'm summoning Honries. You know how good of a summon that usually is. Not even 50 damage. Imagine how much a sword will do. Well, you know, here comes one. 62, and that was because it was of Soul Blaze Unleash. Yeah. Okay. Desert Gap, I guess, lowers defense. There is something worthy of note of that. Used in combination with Cruel Ruin, wow, I think we're finally seeing how devastating that move can be. Wow, Isaac's class really must suck, because he's taking a lot more damage than the other party members. And yes, this is a turn dedicated solely to reviving. Hooray for having two people pretty much dedicated to reviving. And watch them all be devastated and take status elements just as I'm swapping them back out. Yeah, I think you might get an idea how one single move can make a boss so much more devastating. If you don't, then... well, you're probably too prepared for this fight like I am. I think I'm just using that guy to use up the Djinns, because that was not really worth the summoning. Well, speaking of using up the Djinns, thank you, Doom Dragon. I totally didn't need help using my Djinns. And now I'm gonna take a giant Cruel Ruin to the face after you've pretty much devastated my class. I am very surprised Isaac didn't die. Again. Really? Seems like you just used that move, and I was just dealing with it a couple turns ago. Thankfully, this turn was pretty much my use to heal. Ignore the frame drops. It was not really frame drop. Poor Felix just couldn't wrap his head around how much devastation this monster was designed to do. Guess it's just deciding that I've been taunting it for being too easy of a boss, so it's gonna spam its worst moves from now on. And this is the turn I basically do nothing but heal and restore status elements. If only it did Garderoira this turn. So here's the deal with this Earth Force I've been wondering about. Apparently, if you're slower than it, and it uses the move before you can attack, it will stun you for the entire turn. Yay, we defeated the Doom Dragon. Okay, it's not much of a surprise now, it still has one more head to go. Weakest head of them all, but once again, its moveset does change because we lost the head. This time, the monster will only attack 2 times per turn, and it will use the moves Serpent Fume, Inferno, Desert Gasp, Blast Breath, Dome Spire, Nettle, and Cruel Ruin. Or at least that's what Golden Sun Realm says, because it just did Earth Force, and I swear I'm double checking, and Earth Force is not listed on the moves that the one-headed dragon can do. Oh well. There is some fine print saying that the movesets can change, but I just assumed that was for each face of the dragon. I think it still shows that the dragon is getting weaker every time we take out one of his heads. Not only is it attacking less, but it's also using less moves. But as long as it has that frickin' cruel room, you can never let your guard down. Trust me, this move will devastate you, especially if you haven't been beating any of the optional bosses before this point. Oh, this is interesting. I believe this is the point where I catch on that it's slightly weaker to wind than it is to water, so I start taking advantage of it. Maybe it's just because Thunder Mine is Garrett's best offensive capability. Yeah, it's definitely that I'm catching on, because I remember now that I was kind of looking at strategy guides to freshen up on weaknesses and resistance. And that's when I started to remember that the Soul Blade was great, and was slightly weaker to wind than it is to water. Really? You're gonna use that again? Don't you know you're only delaying the inevitable? At least the viewers get a really good idea how much damage that move will reduce. Certainly some very significant numbers. Hello Petra, I haven't used you in a while. It's probably pretty devastating to the boss at this point, since it can only attack twice per turn, and if you're freezing it for one turn, that means only one turn of devastation to you, giving you plenty of time to retaliate, heal, and so forth. And good, I remembered to heal my own psi energy. I think this is a good time to remind you because I actually forgot to this point. We are on top of the Mars Lighthouse, which means Garrett and Jenna will be recovering their psi energy points every turn. I would highly recommend taking advantage of this by making Jenna your healer throughout this fight. But then again, you all know that I kinda play favorites with Jenna, so if you have a favorite healer, I suppose you can make it work. Like, I don't know, I guess you can make Garrett use Wish Well every turn. That's kinda against his nature. But it is an option, I won't deny that it's something you can do. And it'd be a shame if you're letting the fact that two members of your party are pretty much recovering synergy points on their own go to waste. I know I would find that disappointing. We're kinda reaching the final stretch of this fight. We've kinda seen all that this monster— oh, I guess we didn't quite see everything that monster did. Pretty sure that attack's been done before. But yeah, more people that are haunted, that's brilliant. As I was saying though, we are in the final stretches of this fight. I am not hurting that bad. But once more, the experience you get from the optional fights can break this fight. But it's kinda fine. After all, I'm ending it with the main four. The whole Warriors of Vale that the third game makes a big deal about. This whole adventure started with these four warriors within Sol Sachem, taking the elemental stars from their home. And it ends with these four slaying the dragon. So those are Murdani. When they fused into a dragon, it was a two-headed dragon. The three-headed dragon was three people. Don't you see, Garrett?